We're on the phone with the one and only Blackie Lawless from W.A.S.P. They're on their 40th Never Stops World Tour. It's coming to Minneapolis August 16th at the Fillmore. Blackie, how's it going today?
Good, thanks. You?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me.
Well, first of all, W.A.S.P. announcing the 40th Never Stops World Tour for later this summer. And I know you're playing, 33 cities in about as many days? I mean, you guys are definitely still firing on all cylinders here.
Well, when you go out on the road, you got 20 or something people with you. The meter's running at all time, so we've never really been keen on days off, to be honest with you. We like to get out there and just do whatever we're going to do when we're there. How often can you sit, in a hotel room and twiddle your thumbs,
Yeah, and I know you guys just wrapped up the European leg of the tour recently.
Right.
How's the tour been so far? How's it been going?
Well, we did the first U.S. leg last fall, and we just finished 3 months in Europe, and I got to tell you, it's been really special. I've not had a feeling about a tour since, honestly, the very first one we did in 1984. This has been incredibly special. The audiences have been unbelievably responsive, and it's and I know it sounds like sales hype, but it's just a fact. I mean, there's a lot of nights when I say goodnight, these audiences are so loud that I have to scream as loud as I possibly can to be heard coming out of the PA over their volume, with them hollering and cheering.
I know you guys are also playing with Armored Saint. It's been about 40 years for those guys, too. I know you guys go way back.
Yeah, we all started at the same time. There was, as a matter of fact, when we did the U.S. run last fall, there was a show that we had done on, it was October 30th. It was a Halloween show in 1982 that we did at the Troubadour, and we played exactly 40 years later to the date. This time we were in, I think we were in Phoenix. But, I mean, what's the chances of any band lasting 40 years? It's almost impossible. And then to have two bands play together on the same night 40 years later, man, the planets have to align for that to happen. I mean, that just does not happen.
Definitely. And I know W.A.S.P. is going to be in Minneapolis August 16th at the Fillmore, and then August 18th at the RCU Theater in Eau Claire. And W.A.S.P., you guys have quite a history, I know, in Minnesota here, especially. A lot of fans here. That's going to be an awesome show.
Yeah, well, we've been really fortunate to have people, in that area, and they're, really latch onto us, and they've been lifelong fans.
And actually, the night of that show is almost 40 years ago to the day that the first album was released. I mean, does that seem like it's been 40 years ago since that first one came out?
In some ways, it feels like, a couple of months ago, and some way, put a zero on that 40, so there's been, a ton of water under the bridge, and again, for any band that does this for a long period of time, first of all, you got to be blessed, because you have to have a fan base that you're going to take for that lifelong journey.
Sure. And
you have to have people who are willing to invest in you to do that. And there's got to be something that they identify with a band to do that. And I'm not speaking just about us, I'm talking about any band, so like I said, for them to be willing to put that investment into something for that long of a period of time, and then for us as a band to go all this many years and to see all these, in some ways there's been huge changes, in some ways there's been no changes at all, so it's been quite a remarkable journey. I've been able to live because of this support that we've had, this love from the fan base. I've had an extraordinary life, and it's it's not without its ups and downs. Not everybody's life is going to be that way to a degree. But I think with, again, any band or any performer, any entertainer that does it for this long of a period of time and has done it at a high level, their lives are going to have some extraordinary moments in them.
Yeah, you guys have had a hell of a ride. And can you talk a bit about, some of the controversy you guys went through, back in the day with, the PMRC, that they kind of helped you guys sell more albums than ever. But, you also had like the death threats and all the craziness around that. I mean, are you still maybe having some PTSD from, all the stuff that you guys went through back then?
Any band that goes through anything like that, and most bands won't, but when you go through extremes like that, it will change the way you look at things. It changes the way you live. It just thrusts you into a spotlight that no one is ever prepared for. And it really, hey, listen, we had so much advanced publicity with everything that was going on. It put us into a place that it's rarefied air. And it wasn't always a good thing, because it led to us getting shot. I got shot at twice at threats because of that. I mean, the FBI had to come in a couple of times, and stay with us. It got to be extraordinary. And it's one of those things that never really ever goes away. And it changes the way you live. It changes pretty much everything you do. And like I said, even to this day, I still feel the effects of it. And not always in a good way.
Sure. Well, I know there have been lineup changes over the last 40 years, of course, but, you've kind of been the guy who has been there since the beginning. I mean, that's got to feel good for you to look out and, see the sold-out crowds that are still coming to see you guys.
Well, the band that I have, we've been together largely. I mean, the drummer's been with us going on 10 years now, but the guitar player and the bass player have been here, close to 30 years. I mean, their tenure has been a long, long time, longer than any other previous members. So this is a cohesive unit, to say the least. And I'm proud of that, because quite honestly, and allow me to toot my horn here for a second. I'm not speaking of myself, but speaking about them. They're one of the best bands in the world. I say that without shame and without, they're incredible.
Well, what's the status of a new W.A.S.P album? I've read you guys are maybe stockpiling some new music. Would there be?
Yeah, we are. We're working. We had, from the time the U.S. tour ended, we went straight back in the studio, and we were working really hard to try to get it ready for August of this year. But it's just not going to happen. It's one of those kind of things that I think we got a big fish on the hook, and I don't want to let it go before it's ready. So I would guess, I was talking to the guy that does, the mixing for our records yesterday, and he asked me when I thought, and I said the best I could tell him would be spring of next year that we'll be ready for him. So if he starts in spring, that means the soonest it would be ready would be summer.
Well, that's awesome news that we're going to see that sooner than later. And, of course, you guys will be on the road here again in Minneapolis, August 16th at the Fillmore. Blackie, I wanted to ask you, I don't know how often this comes up, but your memories of filming the movie Dungeon Master, was that a fun time for you? Or?
We were just starting, and there was LA Times ran a huge article on us. And you got to remember, we were an unsigned band at the time. So for, a newspaper like the size of the LA Times to be running a feature story on us, that was a big deal. And the guy's name was Charles Band, that was the director and producer of the film company. And he was looking for something because he was doing this thing with Richard Mall from Night Court. And Richard and I end up playing basically the same part in the movie. And so he was looking for something to play off Richard with. And so he got a hold of us, and one thing led to another, and we did it. And, it's funny, we were thinking about the song that we did for the movie. We were entertaining using the idea for this tour that we're on right now. We did not end up using the song for the tour, but I went back and I looked at the footage from the film. And that film is pristine looking. I mean, it's just the quality of the film that it was shot on was fantastic. And it was shot really, really well, and I wish we could use it in the show, but like I said, we ended up not doing the song. That's kind of a shame.
Well, I know that movie is kind of a cult classic now, and I guess you never know what might connect with people down the road when you're starting out.
You never know. That's the thing. You throw it all in a pot and mix it up, and sometimes things stick, sometimes they don't.
Well, Blackie, I know you're busy. As we mentioned, the tour and the new album coming up. Is there anything else maybe we should be watching out for?
Just, for everybody to get ready. We're coming to that area. We have intentions of hurting people once we get there. I mean, this whole show has been, it looks like a giant carnival. It's kind of half circus, half road warrior, half rock and roll extravaganza. It's a really, and I know this sounds like hype, but it's true. I mean, we built an arena-sized show to take into theaters, and it is massive. There's no other way to describe it. I mean, when you see this, you'll understand what I'm saying. I mean, we spent a fortune on, but it looks spectacular. So like I said, it's designed to transport people back into another time. Because one of the things that we kept hearing from people when we started this, and I would love to take credit for it, but I really can't. It's just we did instinctively what we thought was right, and it ended up connecting with people in a good way, because what people were saying is that it took them back genuinely to the early 80s. And again, we didn't intend to do this. It just kind of happened. And they said it was so authentically done that the people that had lived through it was like, taking them, it wasn't a trip down memory lane. It was transporting them back to where they remembered they were. But even for the people who weren't around when it was going on originally, they've seen all the stories. They've seen all the, the documentaries, on what happened at that time. They never got a chance to live it. And this show has given them an opportunity to do that. But it's done in a bigness that even we didn't get to do when we first started.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think that's missing nowadays in rock and roll, and especially with you guys. You've got generations of fans. As you mentioned, a lot of the younger ones have never actually seen the whole
We
W.A.S.P.
think that's one of the reasons that the shows have been selling out, because, we've spent the money we've invested to put it back into the show, and I think, the people recognize it, because, immediately when we do a show, by the time we're finished, 3 minutes don't go by, and that thing is up on YouTube already. So people all over the world can see what's going on.
Well, it's going to be a great show, I know. Again, coming to the Fillmore August 16th. It's been an honor speaking with you. I'm a huge fan and definitely excited for the tour and the new album coming up. Thank you so much.
I sure appreciate it, bud. Take care now.
And again, that was the one and only Blackie Lawless from W.A.S.P. as the 40th Never Stops World Tour makes its way to Minneapolis, coming to the Fillmore on August 16th.